And good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are listening from all around the Philippines and all over the world. My name is RJ Ledesma and welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. In the podcast, I interview the country's pioneering business personalities and entrepreneurs to learn more about how they think about doing business, what are their success secrets, and can we reapply their success secrets in our own businesses as well? How have they innovated their businesses during this pandemic? But more importantly, what opportunities do they see emerging in the new normal and in the next normal? Now, is there a business personality or entrepreneur that you would like me to interview here on the podcast? Please do let me know. Drop me a message. I would love to hear from them. I would love to pick their brains. We are also live right now on Kumu, CBRC TV, Global Pinas TV, and now the Bounce Back Network. If you are enjoying my podcast and you want more people to listen to it, I really suggest, can you please ask more friends to listen to the podcast? You can pick us up on Spotify, on Google, and on Apple Podcast at the same time. So again, thanks so much for joining us. We're a bit early today on this on this Thursday evening, but we've got a very special guest here right now, and I want to introduce to you our guest here for this evening. And he's coming to us all the way from the US via Singapore, and he's here in the Philippines right now for a 2-week visit. So we are very happy to have him here right now. Our guest is Mr. Dennis Nguyen, who is the founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Society Pass. He has had over 25 years of management experience, although it doesn't look like it. He's been in operations, technology, mergers and acquisitions, capital markets, finance, and legal experience in the US, in the EU, in Greater China, in Korea, the ASEAN, and Middle Eastern markets. He is the founder of Society Pass, which is currently listed on the Nasdaq. It is known for building up the next generation loyalty and data-focused marketing platforms in Southeast Asia and South Asia. And they recently acquired Pushkart.ph, a leading grocery delivery service here in the Philippines. This resulted in Society Pass's expansion in the Philippine market and them focusing on increasing the on-demand grocery shopping services here in the country. With the acquisition of Pushkart.ph, I want to find out how Society Pass will provide viable solutions in addressing the challenges of Filipino consumers in both traditional and online shopping. So please welcome my very special guest here for tonight, Mr. Dennis Nguyen. Dennis, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Well, nice to have you. Nice to have me, RJ.
It's really a pleasure having you here right now, Dennis. And as I was talking about a Society Pass, and I was just as it was coming out of my mouth, I was wondering, how would my 78-year-old dad understand what Society Pass does? So before I start, now usually I ask guests here in the show, if I was to ask you about Society Pass and you were giving an elevator pitch to a venture capitalist, how would you kind of encapsulate what it does or what it is?
Well, I mean, it sounds a little complicated, but at the end of the day, what we are is we're an internet holding company
Mhm.
building the next generation digital ecosystem and loyalty platform in Southeast Asia. So that's the elevator pitch. uh, Probably the next three sentences will be defining what we are. At the end of the day, what we do is we acquire leading e-commerce platforms and companies in what we call the VIP countries of Southeast Asia: Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines. Why the VIP countries? Well, they represent 500 of Southeast Asia's 720 million people. And so by acquiring these companies in these the three biggest countries of Southeast Asia, what we do is we are able to go in and identify the leading e-commerce companies. And so doing so, we bring in on merchants, we bring on users, bringing on merchants and users, we then issue our society points, loyalty points. So we believe with loyalty points, we're going to replace cash discounting as we know it in Southeast Asia today. So those are the next three sentences after your elevate pitch. But I'm happy to very much go into detail on what Society Pass is all about, and quite frankly, how we intend to expand in Philippines. I'm very, very excited to be in Manila. I'll be here for the next 2 weeks. Quite frankly, meeting up with a lot of companies, and so that's basically what I intend to do here in Philippines for 2022 and 2023.
Fantastic. It's nice. It's so nice to have you over here then. And hopefully, some people listening to the show here right now might be on your radar for the type of companies that you're looking for. And I want to go again into the type of companies that you're actually looking for, because I think that's going to be it's going to be very insightful for the people who might want to present themselves to your internet holdings company, Society Pass. But having said that, between us, I understand what we're talking about. But let's say I was going to explain. To my dad or to the elder generation, what exactly do you guys do? Can you help me laymanize what exactly Society Pass does?
So at our core, we are a loyalty platform. What does that mean? We spent 2.5 years building a very sophisticated technology back end, which allows us to debit and credit literally millions of transactions daily. And so, if you can think about here in Philippines, you go to, for example, Grab Eats, okay, Grab Food actually. You go to the landing page of Grab Food. Inevitably, what you're going to see is, hey, go to this restaurant, go to that grocery store, do this, do that. You're going to get 20, 30, 40, 50% off by doing that, because that's the deal of the day. Or you're going to get $10 off for whatever it is, okay? And so that's in our industry is called cash discounting. Okay. Now, what we intend to do is we want to replace cash discounting with loyalty points. So, for example, instead of getting $10 off or 10, 30, 10, 20, 30% off of a meal or a deal, you're going to get $10 in worth of society points. With those society points, of course, you take that into your phone, your app, you spend it, you earn your $10, and then whether it's the same restaurant or the next restaurant or a e-commerce retailer, you're buying clothes, you're buying shoes, buying glasses, you're able to then use those society points, those loyalty points that you've earned, to get better deals and redeem them at the next merchant. So that's exactly what we're building, RJ.
Mhm.
We call it the next generation digital ecosystem and loyalty platform in Southeast Asia.
Now, does this platform, if you're able to access it here in the Philippines, and you said the VIP countries, that means that anywhere I go in Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, I can access those same society points?
Yes. So theoretically, that's what's going to happen. But initially, I mean, obviously, with that model, you're going to have there's foreign exchange issues. You got to deal with different banks and changing currencies between Filipino peso to Vietnamese dong to Indonesian rupiah, and those issues we got to work out in the back end. But at the very get go, we are going to be launching our Society Pass loyalty platform, in the second quarter of this year. And we're going to initially launch it in Vietnam. So in Vietnam, you're going to be able to then earn those points, redeem it at another merchant in the Vietnamese marketplace, and then go on from there. Eventually, what we're going to do to add what you say is we're going to be able to allow people to be able to earn and redeem across all three countries.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, having said that, what always interests me, Dennis, when I talk to investors like yourselves who look at the Philippines, is I want to just understand a bit more what potential or what encourages you about the Philippine market aside from just the large population. Like you said, we're about, if you combine all VIP countries, that's 720 million people altogether, I guess, in Southeast Asia, right? But then, what are you seeing in the Philippines? I'm coming from the perspective that many Filipinos are saying, sometimes they go, oh, the situation here is not something I like. I'd rather migrate abroad because there are greener pastures over there. But there are many entrepreneurs like yourself who are actually seeing the Philippines and saying, hey, it's a great country. And you need to see the hidden gem for what it is. What is that hidden gem that you're seeing about the country?
Well, there's many hidden gems in Philippines, FYI. Okay, so I don't know if you know, but this country is growing. Pre-COVID, from 2015 to 2019, was one of the two fastest growing economies in Asia. Okay, FYI, the other country was not China, was Vietnam. So Vietnam and Philippines pre-COVID from 2015 to 2019 were both growing at 6 to 7% a year. Okay, now COVID obviously has hurt the Philippines as well as hurt many other economies throughout the world. Having said that, this place is set for an explosion of e-commerce. I'm going to tell you a few things for people to know. I don't know if you know, but the per capita age here in the Philippines is 27 years old. Per capita age in the United States today is 41. Per capita age in Japan is 52. Okay, think about that. On average, in the middle, Filipinos are half the age of a typical Japanese person. Okay, and we all know the dominant market consumers in the internet economy are young people between the ages of 15 to 40. Okay, so if you're in that demographic, you are very, very sexy for merchants in our internet economy. Now, a few other things for people to think about. I don't know if people know, but the internet penetration rate here in Philippines is now at 74%. That means 74% of 125 million people have access to the internet. And that percentage actually is going to climb to 77% by 2025. Smartphone penetration rate, by the way, is at 75% right now. Okay. And so there's so many statistics and metrics that I could throw at you, RJ, that would lead you to believe that any really interested investor in Southeast Asia would definitely need to come to Philippines because it is a highly educated workforce. Everyone's English speaking. Okay, outside of Singapore, I don't see another dominant English speaking country in Southeast Asia. So, maybe the Minister of Tourism should appoint the advocate.
We're going to make you an ambassador of the Department of Trade and Industry over here.
But I'm very pro Philippines.
Well, that's really great news. And having said that, when you were looking here, like I said, you're building a loyalty app. Why did you choose Pushcart? What specific aspect? I mean, there were a lot of different apps that you could have chosen to build on the loyalty platform that you've created. But why specifically Pushcart? Why was that a strategic investment for you versus other apps that you could have invested in?
Well, first of all, we are looking at other apps and we're looking at other companies. In fact, just to tell everybody, I expect to make 2 or 3 more acquisitions over the next 2 months here in the Philippines. Okay, we're talking to a number of folks, and I gotta tell you, some of these guys are really doing some amazing things here in the e-commerce world here in Philippines. Now, circling back to your original question of Pushcart, why Pushcart? Well, it's real simple. We Asians love to eat. It's that simple. So whether it's Filipino food, Japanese food, Chinese food, blah 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 blah, Indian food. By the way, Indian food is getting really popular here in Manila. Um, Food and beverage is big in throughout Asia, Vietnam, Indonesia, China, Hong Kong, Singapore. And so when I looked at going into Philippines, I thought the natural landing spot would be food and beverage. And so the food and beverage the grocery delivery business here in Philippines, the restaurant delivery business in the Philippines is still at a very nascent stage. Okay,
Mhm.
and so I thought to myself, it would be a wonderful opportunity to get into this nascent stage and really build up a small company, Pushcart, into something much bigger. And that's what we plan to do with Pushcart in all of for the rest of 2022 and 2023.
And having said that, also, I wanna put on your hat as an internet as somebody who invests in these companies. What exactly are you looking for as well? There are many people listening right now, startup companies in general. You've had a background in terms of uh, venture capitalism. You've had background also as an investor here right now and running Society Pass full time. But help us get a better idea. What do people look? What do people like yourselves look for when you're looking at these startup companies?
Well, I mean, I think that's a loaded question, by the way.
I know it's a big question, but
That's a big
let's kind of
question. Is there
parse it out. Yeah,
Yeah,
in
let's
particular.
parse that out a little bit. From an investor point of view, obviously, what you want to do is you have a return on invested capital. You're going to come up with a certain rate of return, whatever that is, and hopefully, if you put in a dollar, in this case, a peso here today, that it will be worth more than a peso tomorrow. Okay, so in principle, that's where it is. So, how do we get there? Well, with regards to the internet economy, it's all about users. It's all about where the market is at. I don't know if you've seen, but the food and beverage delivery business uh, in Philippines is expected to skyrocket over the next 4 to 5 years in 2025. And so I look at this as a great opportunity to get into something. By the way, it's growing 15 to 20% per annum a year from now until 2025. Okay.
Wow.
For me, just FYI, tell you, I just told you that the economy is growing at roughly 6% a year. So if you're growing at 15 to 20% a year versus the economy, you're growing 3x what the economy is growing at. Okay. So this is a massive opportunity. So as I look at it, the ability to get in at the, I think, very nascent level stage, build a business that is already has a certain brand equity in the marketplace, invest in it, grow it bigger, and really position it for serious growth. We intend to, the current company has 15 employees. I fully expect by the end of the year, we're going to have over 100 employees for Pushcart. Um, we're going to grow in Greater Manila, first of all. We're going to grow the footprint of number of grocery stores that we operate with. We're going to expand to convenience stores. We're going to expand to restaurants. That's just really going to grow the footprint. But more importantly, in the fourth quarter this year, I'm going to be going outside of Greater Manila. We're looking at places like Cebu, Davao.
Wow.
Okay, so there's a lot of growth here, and I'm very very excited to work with the entrepreneur. By the way, his name is Michael Lim. He is the founder of Pushcart, and very much our motto, of course, is after we make the acquisition, the founder of that startup stays behind, joins the Society Pass ecosystem, leverages off of our technology platform, leverages off of our capital, leverages off of our integrated marketing platform, and then grows his business. Okay. Basically, what I tell them is, you guys you have the passion. And by the way, I'm 52 years old. I'm an old man, bald. Um, the guys I'm talking to, generally are speaking, are somewhere between 25 to 35 years of age. They're young, passionate people. By the way, I'm very proud to identify when we identify acquisitions, we like to look at women-run businesses. Okay, in fact, Society Pass, by the way, has 65% of our employees are women. Half of my executive management team are women. Uh, 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 Up until Pushcart's probably the only the second acquisition that we've made that's male run. Okay, the previous all the other acquisitions that we made have been female run. So
Wow.
we're big supporters of women business people, because we think the women, especially here in Southeast Asia, really get it, really know the market, really know the internet economy, and so that's what the types of companies that we're looking at here in Philippines. We got Pushcart, food and beverage delivery, but we're going to be entering into lifestyle. We're looking at a large online beauty products platform. I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but we're looking at that. There's a number of other deals that we're looking at that, at the end of the day, our verticals that we operate on. We have 5 verticals,
Mhm.
uh, from ranging from lifestyle to food and beverage delivery to travel, merchant software, and then of course loyalty. So that's a lot to do, and we are very, very excited about being in Philippines.
And I really appreciate the enthusiasm that you're bringing over to this conversation. I want to just let you know, we're not too far apart in age, but I'm still very young at heart over here. That is.
Well, you're doing something well, brother. You got a lot of hair on. Like that. Definitely like that.
I invest. Well, this is my plug, but I go to Svensson Hair Center over here, so check it out. It's been very good for me. Um, Having said that, I wanted to go back a bit more in the conversation, if you don't mind, because I find this part interesting, particularly about the women entrepreneurs that you talked about. Why? Because my business, Mercato Central, like I said, is an open air food market, and my wife has taken the reins of putting the company together, and she's very, very good. I find my wife to be very, very good with operations. She's excellent with it, and she's got great rapport. I wanted to know, what specifically do you find about women entrepreneurs, or women in general, that make that make the company, I guess, more that gives it a competitive advantage, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I think first of all, that's a wonderful question. Um, I think all the men on this podcast that are listening, if they're truthful with themselves, would definitely agree that women, by their nature, are much more detailed oriented than men.
Yes,
Okay.
agree.
Um, E-commerce, we say in retail is detail. Okay, that's what it is. So whether it's sourcing goods from your suppliers, your inventory, what the foot traffic is in a particular mall, how much you are going to spend, in your case, brother, with your hawker center. If are you renting out by square footage? These are things that women really, really do well. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's number one, I would say. Number two, I think women entrepreneurs have much more EQ than the men. They get along better with people. They understand. They're more empathetic. They understand the wants and needs of whether it's your customers or your suppliers, and quite frankly, they try to meet and expect and meet those expectations. And so, what I see, at least in Vietnam, in Philippines, in Indonesia, is that the women entrepreneurs are really, really doing it well. Okay, and this internet economy is really allowing women to to really expand their horizons, expand their business horizons, and that's I like that. I have 4 daughters, and so because of my personal background of having my 4 daughters, I'm very pro woman in that aspect.
Very, very happy to hear that one, and I agree so much with what you're trying to say. My wife is the most. I cannot sit in the meeting as long as she can to go into detail. I can understand the I mean, big picture I can get, big picture I can direct, but when it comes to, like you said, the well, as we say, the devil is in the details. She is the devil in the details. She can do that one, and which I can't. And I'm very thankful that she's with me in doing the business. Now, another thing opened up as we were talking, and this is something I want to bring up because you're actually seeing the opportunities emerging in different industries, because we just talked about F&B, which is just one sector that's growing at 15%, 3x, like you said, of the economy. But you brought out several others, which is lifestyle, which is travel, and which is merchant software acquisition. Tell me a bit more. I mean, those are great opportunities. Let's start first with the lifestyle. Is that beauty products? Because
Right.
beauty seems to be very big, not just here in the Philippines, but it seems to be a big thing in Asia for beauty products.
So when we talk about lifestyle, we talk about a number of sub verticals within that lifestyle vertical. We're talking about obviously fashion, clothes, jewelry, things of that sort. But we're also talking about beauty, online
Mhm.
beauty, and beauty products for women, whitening products, and skin products, and hair products for bald guys, and so on and so forth. These are big sellers. Okay. And then we're also talking about home furnishings. People, as people become more middle class, they have middle class wants and desires, which means they want to have their homes furnished nicely: beds, bedding, art, electronics, kitchenware, things of that sort. That's what within our lifestyle meaning. Now, I got to tell you, in Vietnam, we
Mhm.
acquired a company called LaFleur. LaFleur from
La
2015.
Flair.
LaFleur,
It sounds
that's
like
correct.
La Flair.
LEFLAIR from 2015 to 2020. LaFleur was considered one of the top five lifestyle e-commerce platforms in Vietnam. In fact, in 2019, this company generated over $10 million in sales. Okay.
Wow.
In fact, at the end of 2019, LaFleur actually came to the Philippines and set up shop here, um, and did pretty well. For the last 3 months of existence, was generating over $100,000 in sales a month. Okay. Now,
Wow.
unfortunately, LaFleur went bankrupt in early 2020. I then, of course, Society Pass, we then bought it out of bankruptcy. Okay. In February 2021. I then spent 7 months rebuilding the technology platform, re-onboarding the merchants, and re-onboarding the 1.5 million registered users. We relaunched that LaFleur onto the Vietnamese market, RJ, on September 6th. From a revenue base of zero on September 5, the last 3.5 months of 2021, we generated over $620,000 in sales. In fact, in the month of December, we generated $300,000 in sales, or an annualized rate of over $3.5 million.
Mhm.
Okay. So, we're really doing it well in LaFleur. I expect to, in 2022, to really supercharge those sales for LaFleur. We are going to be launching LaFleur back onto the Philippines market in the third quarter of this year, and I'm really excited to see how LaFleur is going to do in Philippines. In addition to that, we've signed a term sheet with one of the largest um, lifestyle e-commerce platforms in Vietnam.
Mhm.
And we anticipate acquiring that company in the next 4 weeks. Okay, and so we're going to partner that company with LaFleur, and together they're going to leverage off of each other and grow much bigger. Okay, so that's what we're doing with the lifestyle vertical. In here in Philippines, like I said to you, we're looking at a number of companies within that lifestyle vertical, and I'm excited to see where things go, and I fully expect to see a number of acquisitions here in Philippines in the second quarter of this year.
Wow. How about in the travel sector? Because you said you were going to travel. Many people still think that, I mean, there's going to be revenge tourism, I would think, but still very cautious. So there might be some growth, but it's not going to be as big as, to my mind, it's not going to be as big as we would like it to be. Tell us a bit more. Just how big do you think that the travel, because unlike Vietnam, you've been doing a much better job in Vietnam of building tourism. here tourism is still picking up, but it's doing pretty well. How do you see the tourism here in the Philippines growing, and why do you want to play in that sector?
Well, so let's take a step back. That's a wonderful question, but you need to take a step back. So uh, uh, pre-COVID, okay, um, uh, pre-COVID, we're by the way looking at a company, an OTA. It's an online travel agent
Hmm.
website, and it's one of the larger ones in Southeast Asia. Pre-COVID, you had an economy of what 720 million people that the borders were completely opened. Okay, and so you had tur- tur- serious tourism coming in from the United States, coming in from Europe, coming in from Australia, visiting
Hmm.
Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand. So what has happened in COVID, during COVID? We got to ask ourselves this question. All the borders have closed. Okay. So Indonesia's closed, Philippines is closed, Vietnam is closed. Everyone, all these, some of the world's most popular tourist destinations have closed. Okay. So what does that mean? That means, at least I'm going to take it down to a micro level. The company that we're looking at pre COVID generated $65 million in sales.
Wow.
Last year, it only generated $10 million in sales. And this is a company in Indonesia where the borders were completely opened up. Borders were completely closed down.
Hmm.
What's going to happen when that opens up, RJ? Well, we all know Singapore's opened up. I'm proof positive that Philippines has opened up because I'm actually here without even being quarantined. Thailand's opened up. Vietnam's going to open up in the next week and a half. Okay, I don't know if you've seen the news. Indonesia's going to open up the third week of March. So what's going to happen when tourism in Southeast Asia opens up? Answer: it's going to skyrocket so much that by 2024, the travel and tourism market in just Southeast Asia itself will be over $77 billion market size. Okay, think about that. $77 billion market size. Now, what we're looking to do is to acquire this pretty large OTA, online travel agent.
Hmm.
We want to, with that, we will then very much position it to be the OTA for Southeast Asia. Now, there's a number of pretty big websites: Agoda, Traveloka, um, Booking.com, so on and so forth. But I'm pretty confident with what the technology that we've built behind us and the marketing, the ability to do a lot of marketing. I'm pretty confident that we're gonna get these bigger guys, give them a run for their money.
That's exciting. That's really exciting to hear. And again, I'm so thankful for your enthusiasm over the Philippines. And one more interesting thing, I hope you don't mind I get into it as well, because I find this something also that where the loyalty platform seems to work the best is you're doing also merchant software, right? So I guess those are the POS systems, the point of sale systems, and the other systems. Tell us a bit more about that one as well. What opportunities are you seeing there, and this is why you want to get into it?
So we own a company called Hot Tab. Hot Tab, of course, runs uh, uh, POS software, analytics software, and CRM software for restaurants and hotels in both Vietnam as well as Indonesia. Okay,
Hmm.
and so obviously with COVID and a lot of things like that, what happened with the restaurants being closed down, it really dramatically affected our business. Okay, now, as COVID's opened up, we are going to turn around and really start growing our merchant software business. Why is that important to have a lot of to sell software to merchants? It's real simple. Our model is we sit at the nexus of consumers and merchants. More merchants, more consumers. More consumers, more merchants. And what we want to do is we want to sell a lot of merchant software to these merchants. And
Hmm.
so this year, we're focused on building that business in Vietnam because that business is outside of a couple of hotels chains in Indonesia. It's really focused on Vietnam. But quite frankly, in 2024, I intend to take Hot Tab out and bring it to Philippines and start selling POS, CRM, and analytics software to the many hundreds of thousands of merchants here in Philippines. Think about all the mom and pop stores that you run across with your hawker center. These are people that, quite frankly, still collecting cash with their cash machines. Well, what if I say to them, from now on, you could run your entire business through your mobile phone? Okay, that's going to supercharge their retail revenues. That's what it's going to do. And so what we do is with our Hot Tab business, we onboard all of our merchants, all of our restaurants on for free. They don't have to pay for anything. What they do is they pay us on a monthly subscription basis. Of course, it's called SaaS, software as a service model. And they get a very, very gold-plated merchant software to run their company.
Fantastic. Dennis, I understand, as of course, as I look at you and your family name, Nguyen, you're Vietnamese by ethnicity. And you were probably as we talked, you're a second generation Vietnamese American living in the States. And I'm guessing that the first place that you found yourself here in Southeast Asia was Vietnam because of your roots. Is that right?
Well, the first place I ended up started off was actually in Singapore. But my first place, by the way, I'm ethnic Chinese also. So prior to Southeast Asia, I spent 7 years living in Hong Kong and 7 years living in Shanghai. Okay. And so I'm Chinese speaking, obviously. And so very comfortable traversing the ethnic Chinese world. Now, obviously, here in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of ethnic Chinese businessmen and business people, women. So that's very easy for us to do. Having said that, when I first came to Singapore and I started working in Singapore, you're gonna love this. I was working for a management consultant, telecoms management consulting company called Cogent. Cogent, of course, was 100% owned by Northern Telecom. Northern Telecom at that time was one of the largest telecoms manufacturers in the world. It was Canada's Lucent Technologies, by the way. We based out of Singapore. I got to live in Makati for 3-4 months in the summer of 1997, helping build Globe Telecom's cellular network in the Philippines. It was fun.
Well, then thank you very much. Thank you for the support. Thank you for what we are enjoying here today. Having said that, Dennis, I'm going to take a step back as well. And there's, aside from your background in Society Pass, and I had a chance to go over your background. I find it very interesting because as I look at your background, it doesn't sound like an entrepreneurial background because it seems to be higher studies and academics and then teaching, then eventually consulting, then you jump into entrepreneurship. That's not many people go that route. Do you mind sharing with us a bit more about how you turned from consultancy to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, my father, who passed away, he was my hero, by the way, my mentor, my friend, my coach, all the good stuff that you attribute to your father. Mm-hmm. He said, you know what, when you grow up, I want you to be rich. So you don't need to do anything else, just be rich.
It's a Chinese.
Absolutely. And so
be prosperous, yeah.
And so I was thinking. So of course, growing up in the 80s and the 90s, there was an industry that was what everyone wanted to go. And I was very good at math, and so I went into investment banking, into finance. I did a lot of studying in my 20s, lost all my hair, but I got an MBA from the University of Chicago and a law degree from the University of Minnesota, studied at Johns Hopkins, did all that. And afterwards I said, I want to be an investment banker because those guys make all the money. And so that's how I started my career. Okay, in finance, I started off at Citigroup, did mergers and acquisitions. Started off in New York, and of course, they sent me off to Hong Kong, which is where I started living in Hong Kong, and it was wonderful. I moved to Hong Kong in the mid 1990s.
Oh,
RJ, I
that's
mean,
the
it
peak of
was
Hong Kong. Yeah,
is the peak of
yeah,
Asia. Actually,
yeah, exactly.
it was pre-Asian financial crisis. All the markets were doing this. We all saw that. We all experienced it, and then so as a result, I got into that, and then of course from there I went into venture capital, because we all know, yeah, investment banking. By the way, for the people that don't know, you earn your money by you're effectively a broker. You're a broker between you're raising money for the company, and then you're taking that slice, that brokerage fee, when you raise your money from your investors. That's long story short, that's investment banking. Um, now, 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 with regards to venture capital, of course, it's a different game. You're a principal, you're investing your investors' money, and hopefully with the profits that you make, you get a slice of those profits. So I got into venture capital. By the way, prior to Society Pass, I took 5 companies public on the Hong Kong and Singapore stock exchanges. These were primarily Chinese-based companies, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And then, of course, in this decade, the last decade, I ventured into Vietnam, did a couple of deals in Vietnam, and here we are with Society Pass. So I invested in Society Pass, hoping to start up, the next in America. We have what's called a food and beverage ordering app called OpenTable.com. We also have a company called Groupon.com, where you could get coupons and deals off of various products that you could buy off of it. So the whole genesis of Society Pass was building the OpenTable.com and Groupon.com with loyalty points for Southeast Asia, and that's what we've
Wow.
done.
I want to ask you, because I often say, when you look at, I tell people, when you wear the entrepreneurial mindset, it's like sort of saying, being an entrepreneur means that you're solving other people's irritations, or you find pain points that you can turn into business opportunities. When you saw, I guess, you were considering so many different things when you wanted to become an entrepreneur, and there are several competing opportunities. For me, I would offer, somebody like you, who was an investment backer and venture capitalist. There were several competing opportunities for you, or several pain points that you could have seen from your exposure to business. Why did you choose this particular option to go with?
Which option is that?
I mean, when you did Society Pass, when you did when you saw the loyalty pass,
Right,
when you
right. So again, it comes down to what I thought that was the market opportunity, and still think is the market opportunity. And then what is that market opportunity? Is basically to build the next generation digital ecosystem in Southeast Asia. Now, here's the beauty of the non beauty, the disadvantage, I should say, of entrepreneurs. Everyone thinks when they start their company, they're going to be the next Steve Jobs. Okay, everyone thinks that they're going to rule the world, and their app's going to be like a Grab, or going to be this or that. And quite frankly, 98% of the time, people fail. Yeah, that's the nature of entrepreneurial activity. Most of the time, you're going to fail. So, we meet these entrepreneurs who are so passionate with their companies, so passionate with their products, and I really support them. But at the end of the day, they're going to start their company, and within 2 to 3 years, they're going to run out of cash. Okay. And so we meet them and say, look, why don't you join the Society Pass ecosystem?
Mhm.
We provide the capital. You continue to grow your company, live your dream. You now, instead of having to worry about trying to finance your expansion, you have me, who, by the way, is 15 to 20 years older than you. Okay. I've been around. Okay. You do what you're good at, which is try to find merchants, try to find consumers to get onto your e-commerce platform. I provide the capital for you to do that. And as you join a larger ecosystem, you're going to be able to leverage off of our marketing platform, off of our technology platform, after our operations and logistics platform. We will then help you with all of that. You go out and build your product and sell it to the rest of the world. And that's the trade that we have with our entrepreneurs when we acquire them. And quite frankly, we've done 4 acquisitions already. And by the end of this year, I'll tell you right now, RJ, I expect to have 20 acquisitions completed by the end of this year.
Wow. And bravo to you. And thanks so much for supporting the growth of the Philippine ecosystem and also the startup economy over here. Now, Dennis, you're getting a great view of how the ecosystem is growing over here, how the e-commerce system is growing over here. What are you seeing also as opportunities uh, of other entrepreneurs, other startup companies to work or to complement or to augment what's currently happening in your ecosystem? Are there other places for them to play in right now where they can grow together with you?
Well,
Yeah.
great question. I think you're seeing a lot of, just look at retail. E-commerce is coming up, and it's been up within a typical e-commerce retailer. Well, there's a huge ecosystem around that retailer. Okay, so he or she might be selling whatever product it is. Let's call it online beauty, for example. Okay,
Mhm.
let's call it beauty products. They're selling it, um, and well, they're going to have to buy from suppliers and brands. Most likely, they're going to have to, instead of just being just e-commerce, they're going to have physical locations, which means they're going to have to deal with malls. They're going to have to deal with shops. Right? There's logistics issues. They're going to have to hire vans and cars to move around there and deliver their goods. So this entire ecosystem, even though you're the storefront, there's a lot of things in the background that's happening. That quite frankly, with each company being built up, there's probably another 4 or 5 or 10 companies servicing that one company, RJ. And so that's what's going on right now in our internet economy. The people that people don't see is helping the front. I would say the front shop.
The people working behind the scenes, the backstage economy.
Backstage economy, and that's a very significant part of this entire internet economy, by the way.
Okay, let me ask you maybe a bit more challenging question. What would you be doing right now, Dennis, if you weren't doing Society Pass? What were the other, if there was, if you were doing this one, this is the opportunity that I'd actually be pursuing here right now, or what I'd be doing right now.
I'm in my 50s now. I've lived a charmed life. Life's been great. I could obviously, instead of basically still working 12, 13, 14-hour days, and instead of doing that, I guess I'd probably just be chilling in the United States, in California, Southern California. Actually, I'm very involved with my children. I got 5 children, 2 adults age, and then 3 younger girls. I'm very into my daughters. So if I wasn't doing this, I'd be spending a lot more time playing with and educating and helping my girls develop into women, to be honest.
That's a really great opportunity to be had. And I agree with you more. I've got a 13-year-old girl, I have a 9-year-old boy, I have a 5-year-old son, and I'm hoping to see how I can balance everything and be an entrepreneur at the same time, which drives any of us crazy. And as we
Right.
start to wrap up this discussion, Dennis, I think the most I would love to learn from you also as well. You've gained so much from your background, and I appreciate it so much because you're coming from somebody who was coming from the side of the investment banker, venture capitalist, and now setting up this business. There's so much knowledge that you've gained as an entrepreneur. What would you like to share with people? Maybe 3 to 4 life lessons, especially as an entrepreneur, about business and life and failure.
I love how you just wrote that. You wrote, business, life, and failure. We all fail. It's not the end of the world. You're gonna fail, get up, start up again. I have a number of by the way, we now have 120 employees at Society Pass, and I expect with the acquisitions coming in by June 30th, we'll have we'll double that by 200 with 250 employees or so. But I tell my colleagues a number of things. First principle, life: under promise, over deliver. You do that well. You do that well, you're going to be good. Under promise, over deliver. Another thing I tell people, okay, and I don't know if you play baseball. I grew up playing baseball,
Mhm.
and I'm going to give an Americanism here. Always hit for singles. Don't hit for home runs. When you hit for home runs, you're going to tend to strike out. Hit for singles. You do enough singles every day, you're going to score and be successful. And you're going to be successful in a less risky way. Okay. And a few other things I tell people is like, quicken your pace, right? Whatever business plan you have, double the speed of trying to get there, because everyone else is going to take their own sweet time. If you work harder, the probability of success becomes that much greater. And finally, I would say Rome wasn't built in one day. Okay. Do what you're good at today. Have the plan. First of all, have the dream, then have the plan. And then day by day, execute on that plan. Because again, Rome wasn't built in one day. It's going to take you a little bit of time. Okay. Focus on what you're good at. Do that first. And the things that you aren't good at, bring in people that'll help you accomplish your goal. And that's what I would suggest to younger people as they start their business, as these entrepreneurs start their businesses. Identify the market niche. There's always going to be a market niche. And if you do that well, you're going to be good. Finally, there's only two ways to make money in this world. I'm going to distill it very, very quickly for people. You're either going to come up with the best product and sell it at the highest price. But because it's the best product, people are going to love it. I'll give you an example. iPhone. Okay. What's the difference between iPhone and, say, an HTE out of Taiwan? When you look up the technology, it's not very different. Both are smartphones. Both could do this. Both could do that. Why is it? Have you ever asked yourself, why is HTE selling for $300, whereas an iPhone is selling for $1,500? Answer: it's the best product in the market. The second way to make money is this: make your product the cheapest that you can do in the most efficient way. You do that well, you're going to make money. And so there's two ways to make money. One is to make the best product available and charge the highest prices, or make the most mass market product and control your costs. Different ways of looking at the same thing.
And where is society pass in that journey?
Where we're at, we're trying to build a premium product, and how I'm getting there is with Society Pass, to really, we're a loyalty points platform at the end of the day. To get loyalty points circulated, you need millions of consumers. You need hundreds of thousands of merchants. I mean, that's just how it is. So if I was to organically grow Society Pass, it would cost hundreds of millions of dollars of marketing to build. Okay, to in our industry, it's called customer acquisition cost. Okay, the cost of a customer acquisition of you onto my platform is somewhere around $20 to $50. Well, do the math on 50 million people, 10 million people, 5 million people. You already know how much you're going to about to spend. So what we do is we acquire our companies. The companies that come on board allow us to bring on millions of consumers at a relatively efficient cost. LaFleur has allowed me to access 1.5 million registered users. The company in the OTA that we're looking at, they have 1.2 million registered users. So we're bringing these on. We're bringing on the users, bringing on the consumers, and we're giving them a premium product that I quite frankly don't think is in the market today. That's our market niche. And we are very, very excited, RJ, to be launching this in the second quarter of this year.
Very excited for you as well, Dennis. Having said all this, I'm very excited to see ways that we can work together to help grow the Society Pass ecosystem here in the Philippines. Now, I know that you're actually here in Manila for 2 weeks to meet some of your potential acquisitions. But if there are other startups there who might be interested to work with you that you might not have come across, what are you looking for, and how can they get in touch with you?
Well, how can they get in touch with me? I'm on LinkedIn, so you could look. You and I just got connected on LinkedIn, RJ, so they could do that. That's very easy to do. Other than that, you could email me at dennis@thesocietypass.com. I think those are the two easiest ways to do it. You could go to, the societypass.com website, and if you want to meet up and link up, definitely email. I'm here in Philippines. I'm here to support the wonderful entrepreneurs here in the internet ecosystem here in Philippines.
And what in particular are you looking for? Any type of company that might want to approach you, so that at least they know where they stand when they go to you, or how they should position themselves when they go to you?
Lifestyle, if they're in lifestyle, food and beverage delivery, food and beverage ordering app, travel, things of that sort. That's already a lot of stuff there, RJ. I mean, if you're in lifestyle in e-commerce, you're doing something pretty cool.
Okay. And with that, thanks so much for joining us over here, Dennis Nguyen of the Society Pass. This has been one of the most insightful conversations and concise discussions that I've had over here. So, Dennis, thanks so much. Good luck to you, and we hope to see you growing more companies here in the Philippines. Again, this is the RJ Ledesma Podcast. We will see you again next week, next Tuesday, for our next podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks.
having us.
Thanks, Dennis. Don't go away just yet, Dennis.